Residents of Lenasia South marched to the local municipal offices to demand that their grievances be heard. And Agriculture Minister Tina Joemat-Peterson says government had done its best to promote the rights of farm workers, but monitoring labour conditions remains a challenge. I'm Richard Brooks. Residents of Lenasia South are marching to the local municipal offices to demand that their grievances be heard. They include that houses built on illegally obtained land, which belongs to the Gauteng Housing Department, be demolished. The protest comes ahead of an expected visit to the area by Human Settlements Minister Tokie Segwale and Gauteng Local Government and Housing MEC Ntombi Mechwe in an effort to resolve the housing crisis. More than 80 houses have so far been demolished in the area. The department says it will not compensate those whose homes have been demolished. Agriculture Minister Tina Joemat-Peterson says the government had done its best to promote the rights of farm workers, but monitoring labour conditions remains a challenge. She's been speaking in Johannesburg. Joemat-Peterson has denied not doing enough to prevent recent farm workers' protests in 16 Western Cape towns, including the Durans. She says that farmers initially employed workers from Lesotho, but then hired workers from Zimbabwe through labour brokers, causing tension. 2 people were killed and several others wounded in the protests. The workers have been demanding a 150 Rand wage per day. Their current minimum wage is 70 Rand per day. The workers have suspended their protests to give negotiations a chance. The Marikana Commission of Inquiry has heard that it would be possible for ballistic experts to determine whether the police claims that they acted in self-defense against attacking striking miners are true. Police witness Warrant Officer Albert Wessels is facing cross-examination. He's an examiner for the South African Police Service's Forensic Ballistic Department. The Commission's chairperson, Judge Ian Farnham, asked Wessels about the possibility of determining the range from which the shooting could have taken place.
If it was alleged that someone had been shot in cold blood, as it were, by someone firing a firearm at him at point-blank range, that story also could be verified or contradicted, either by the presence of tattooing and other marks of the kind you described, which would support the story of a close-range, cold-blooded killing, or could be contradicted by the absence of marks of the kind you've described, which indicate that the fatal shot was fired from a considerable distance. Am I understanding that to be your evidence?
That would be correct.
KZN's Transport, Community Safety and Liaison MEC Willis Mqunu has appointed a task team to investigate the recent outbreak of violence between members of the NFP and IFP at the Kwamashu Hostel in Durban at the weekend. Members of the two parties have been campaigning ahead of the December the 5th by-elections, which take place after the death of a councillor. Mqunu says he's considering asking the IEC to postpone the elections.
It is clear from all of the incidents that are now happening in that hostel that they will be able to make these elections free and fair. I sanctioned the department to investigate what would need to be taken in order to investigate and find a guilty party, but also find ways of ensuring that elections are not allowed to continue in an unstable condition, but we then to investigate what processes can be followed by the IEC for them to be postponed.